Alex asks, have you ever considered writing more books that centre around chaos, expanding on the themes in Traitor General and Blood Pact? I have thought about that a lot. I think focusing more on the activities of the Chaos characters, the Blood Pact in particular, or the Sons of Seth, and also talking about what life is like on an occupied world, which we glimpsed in Traitor General, will be very, very interesting indeed. I can't talk about that very much yet, but there is something coming along that I think will relate to those things directly, and probably the next time I get to do a vlog like this, it'll be something I can talk about then, so a tentative yes. Another question from Zalax. Any thoughts on another Sabbat World anthology? She asks. Sabbat World anthology, which is incidentally just out now in paperback, was last year's Gaunt book to a certain extent, because of various reasons too complicated to go into. We didn't get a Gaunt novel last year, so lots of Black Library writers got together and wrote stories that were set in the Sabbat Worlds Crusade that Gaunt stories are set in. I'd like to do this. I think Black Library's keen to do this as well. I think we're just a matter of getting people together to do another one. Zalax's earlier question about focusing on chaos and occupied worlds, which she asked a while ago, obviously relates particularly to the story that Nick wrote for the Sabbat Worlds book, the Sail short story about the Resistance War, and that is a theme that both she and I are very interested in developing. Jonathan also asks, other than the Tanith and the Fantine, any other regiments of the Sabbat Crusade you feel like playing with? I keep thinking about going back to the army units that we saw in well, both in Necropolis actually and in Honor Guard. I know we've revisited Honor Guard. And I'd like to write some more about the Titan Legion, and as I mentioned in Zalax's question earlier on, I'd like to do some Imperial Navy things. I've also got a great idea. I think it's a great idea for an Imperial Guard novel that it can't be a Gaunt novel because it won't fit in with their continuity. It has to be about, so I might have to just branch out and do another Imperial Guard unit. Dean Sherman asks two questions. Firstly, will we see any more of General Grismond and the rest of the Narmenian 1st Armoured? I mentioned them just now. I'd love to go back and write some more tank stuff. The Armenians and also the Pardus in Honor Guard. Maybe there could be a big tank action novel that features both regiments. That would be good fun, wouldn't it? Dean's second question is, will we see more of Gaunt before he became a commander of the Tanith? I'd love to do that as well. That's a back burner project which I hope to get to at some point. We were jokingly referred to it as Little Gaunt when he was a cadet. I see there being 1, 2 or even 3 novels that could be written about his time as a commissariat cadet that could fit into the beginning of the sequence. John Banks asks, ever thought about writing a novel about the Death Corps of Krieg or the Mordian Iron Guard? I have. I'd certainly need to, I wouldn't say I'd need to be encouraged to write either of those things. I think they're the sorts of people who might turn up in novels rather than have novels based around them by me. Others might want to write about them specifically. It's not, part of it is because they're not my creations. They're part, so therefore I'd be more limited in what I could do with those regiments, because there's an awful lot of material about both of them already. And it's not because I'm not prepared to do the legwork or I somehow feel that I need to invent things before I can write them. It's just I don't want to tread on anybody's toes. I think that's the sort of thing where GW would have to say to me, Dan, we'd love you to write a Mordian Iron Guard novel. And I get the sort of that kind of creative support to do it rather than randomly deciding to do it. Lee Sandock asks, will you revisit the short story? Yes. Yes. There's a caveat to that answer. I wanted to write another Iron Snakes novel anyway, and I also thought the Iron Snakes might pop up in a novel somewhere. Before I could actually get around to writing a full novel of them, they might pop up somewhere. And they do. Actually, they do sort of in a couple of places. I don't want to spoil the surprise by telling you where it's going to be. I'd rather people were reading along and go, oh my god, there's Iron Snakes in this! But, you know, read the 40k stuff and you'll see what happens. David asks, do you think Forge World would ever make some of the unique Chaos vehicles described in your books? I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. The Forge World, who are fantastic, and I'd like to think a very nice working relationship with them. are particularly brilliant at helping me understand how 40k vehicles work and answering questions, and very forthcoming people. They help me understand the universe very well indeed. What's happened recently, and I wouldn't go as far as to describe it as sort of product placement, but I've looked at the things that Forge World are doing, and they do some splendid books as well. They're Imperial Armour books. I've looked at some of their things and going, gosh, I want to put that in there. So I'll talk to people, talk to them about certain things, and then find ways of featuring them so that there is a greater connectivity between my novels and what Forge World are up to. So I think it's more the other way. It's more that I'm looking at what Forge World's doing and going, gosh, that's really cool. I could do that and put that in a book, than me inventing something and expecting them to make a model of it. Although, having said that, I'd love to see a Stalk tank. I think a Stalk tank would be really fantastic. That is actually true of Salvation's Reach. There are several vehicles in Salvation's Reach that are in it because I was talking to Forge World and looking at what they were doing. I was thinking, oh, that would be brilliant to use that, and so they explained how these things worked, and I put them in there, which is fantastic. Also, of course, gave me an excuse to get the models and make them, get them painted, sit them on my desk, go. It's a wonder I get any work done. Bruce Ewans, hello Bruce, how are you? How's Michelle? Does Erebus truly smell of poo? Of course he does. Yes, he does. That refers to a Facebook post that I made this week. Any plans to do more standalone stories on the boys from Ithaca? These Iron Snakes. Yes. Bruce is a fantastic fan of the Iron Snakes and has his own Iron Snake army, which he showed me in Chicago this year. Fantastic. And he's been very generous in sending me ideas, stuff that he's developed for the building of his armies, which are playing into various things. And again, I don't want to say where these things will appear. There's two particular instances in the next year or so where if the Iron Snakes themselves don't turn up, there will be a connective tissue to the Iron Snakes, which I think people will appreciate. I would at some point really love to write another Iron Snakes novel anyway, though. I figure at some point I should just do a Space Marines battle book about a classic Iron Snakes event. Bruce signs off by saying, "Your prose is my crack, you silly heretic." Which, thank you for that. Nicholas Butler, hello Nicholas. Would you consider writing a kids read under 6 Space Marine story? I think that would be fantastic. I immediately see them sort of chunky little versions like the Lego versions of Space Marines. So I think yes, Timmy the Ultramarine and the Om Nom Nom Tyranids I think would be fantastic. Actually, I think they would just turn quite bleak. It would start off quite cuddly and friendly, and then just veer it over into really dark Roald Dahl territory. There you go. Chris Morris asks, he says, "Hi Dan, I hope you're well. I had a chat with you at the Black Library Day 2010. You said that you would love to write another Iron Snakes or a Battlefleet book. Is that still possible? If you could write any 40k story, what would it be?" Well, I mentioned the Iron Snakes just now. I'd love to write some more of those, and sort of I'd love to write a Navy book and sort of have a little in Salvation's Reach, but there's more of that on its way. I'd love to finally do the sequel to Double Eagle and get some air combat stuff and tanks as well. So many different things I'd love to do. If I could write any 40k story, what would it be? I have to say, it keeps going back to this idea I've had, which is essentially an Imperial Guard story that can't be Gaunt's Ghost. I mentioned this a while ago as well. Great storyline. I'm looking for an opportunity to do it. So who knows? And Johnny also asks, have plans for Interceptor City, which is the Double Eagle sequel, been scrapped? No, they haven't. It's still on the work list. I will get to it eventually, I promise. Anya McGlinchey asks, are you going to do a book or short stories about Milo's adventures with the Saint away from the ghosts? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I might have to. Now, oh dear, that's another one for the list. I might have to now. Okay, good idea. It's probably worth pointing out that you can friend me on Facebook if you wanted to at Dan Abnett Primary Clone. You can follow me on Twitter at Dan Abnett Club. That's all one word, Dan Abnett Club. Or for a more casual approach, you can follow me and Nick on Twitter at Vincent Abnett, all one word. and my blog is at danabnett.com. Thank you for all the questions. I look forward to talking to you again.